what's going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. So today we are going to be talking about a very, very emotional movie that came out on Netflix the other day called The Society of the Snow.
Modern movie review.
So I'm going to preface this by saying, before I get into this, this is based off of a true story and it is an incredible emotional story. But it also has a couple like glimpses of like heroism and stuff in it that is very interesting. So spoiler alerts, but also if you do find this movie interesting and you like it, you should do some more research on it, because I do think it is a very interesting story. And the movie, for the most part, I do think does a great job of portraying a lot of the stuff that I've seen, according to like all the articles and videos and stuff that I've seen and read on it. But it was a very interesting movie. So let's dive right into this little movie review, shall we? So, first off, I want to go ahead and say this movie is about a plane crash that happens, and on board this little plane there is 40 people, 19 of which are teammates for a rugby team, and I think that this movie does a really good job of showing their team dynamic and their team bond, and I really like the fact that before we get into all the emotional and heartbreaking stuff, we do have just a couple of sequences of them hanging out as a team and celebrating, being in the locker room. We get to see a little bit of their game whenever they're playing at the beginning of the movie and stuff like that, and it helps us really relatively quickly get a picture as to who these people are. We get a general idea of like, oh, this person's the leader, this person's the captain, this person is not necessarily a ball hog, but he's somebody who is very powerful and very strong and incredibly athletic, and somebody who could be a leader but doesn't like being a team player. And I like the fact that we're setting up all these archetypes, because once the plane crashes and they're stuck in the middle of the Andes and they are needing to have to build a society, you can kind of see these characters kind of growing out of these archetypes. Obviously, the captain continues to be a captain and be a leader and kind of help people to establish, like, this is what we need to do to survive, this is how we're going to do what we need to do to survive, and then also on top of that, like, helping out the injured people and stuff like that. I think that this movie is incredibly, I wouldn't say necessarily hard to watch, because if you know what you're getting into, it's pretty much exactly what you'd expect, but it is a very dark movie. It is very grim, and the story is a very dark story that is incredibly emotional, so it is living up to what the movie is, and I mean what the situation was, and it does a really good job of showcasing it as dark and grim as it would be, and how it seems like they are going to be losing hope throughout this story, and it is incredibly emotional. Some movies I would like to compare this to, for people who are kind of having a general idea of if you would be interested in this movie. It's a survivor film, so it's kind of like Castaway, it's kind of like The Martian, two great movies that are about people surviving in odds that they shouldn't really survive in. This is another one of the movies like that, and I think that this movie is on par with those movies, if not better. The actors all are absolutely incredible. I think that their connection and their bonds really help sell this film, because there's a lot of emotional sequences where people are losing people who we haven't had a lot of time with in the movie yet at this point, but you can tell based off of these actors' performances how close they were to each other and how much they meant to each other, and it is incredibly emotional. And I like the fact that a lot of times in movies like this, I feel like comes time where like the dialogue is like really feels forced, and it doesn't seem like things people would actually do during traumatic sequences. But whenever traumatic sequences and stuff happens, it really does feel like these actors are just reacting to the stuff that's happening. It doesn't feel like oh my god, here's this giant long dialogue, because whenever there's these things that are happening that are unexpected, they're not going to have these like little mini monologues. They're not going to be able to say coherent thoughts and sentences and stuff like that. They're screaming in agony, they're screaming in pain, they're terrified, they don't know what's going on, and it's really well acted. I think that this movie is phenomenal in that sense. I think that the direction is also incredible. The setting is fantastic. I don't know if this was something that they filmed on set somewhere, or if this is something that was filmed in a back lot or something like that, but if it was filmed on a back lot, that's insane. The setting, I think, is incredible, and it really helps build the tension and pressure, because like it feels freezing this entire movie. I feel like the lighting and stuff does a great job of portraying that as well. And I really like that. Something else that I really enjoy, while we're talking about the lighting, is every once in a while there will be conversations where they are chilling out, they're just kind of hanging out, and they're just, having regular, conversations, reminiscing on the good old days, because they miss not being in this little shell of a plane and that being their entire life right now. And every single time they'd have those flashbacks, I really like the fact that they had it in a lot warmer lighting, and the saturation for it was a little bit higher, so it really does feel more like fresh, like everything is going to be okay, and it felt more homey in that sense. And I really, really enjoyed that aspect of it. I think that it helped shine more of a light into how bleak the situation that they were in was. There are a couple decisions that they make in this movie that I think help it an insane amount. For one, there's a character named Numa, and he is narrating this entire film, and he dies in the movie. And I think that that was an incredibly smart decision, because the entire movie, we're watching some of the stuff that's happening with him, and we're like, okay, well, we know he's not going to die. He's going to get through this. And it's helping me be like, okay, it's okay. They're going to get out of this. They're getting out of this soon. He's injured. He's laying down. He's saying that he might pass away soon. It's okay, because soon they're going to be getting saved and everything's going to be okay. And then a couple of scenes go by and Numa actually dies. And you're kind of like, what? Okay, because with him being the narrator, he's talking about this entire like thing that's happening, right? Like the entire journey. He talks about like day 1, day 2, day 3, whatever. He's the narrator of the entire film. And when he passes away, it's kind of like a sign for the other people that they really need to get their act together. They need to send people out to go walk to some form of civilization, because they are not going to be making it out of this alive. And it is an incredibly emotional sequence, but I just love the way that they did that, because like I said, since he's narrating the film the entire time, you're kind of focusing on, you know, his story, his character arc and stuff like that, and he's going to survive and it's going to be okay. And when he dies, it kind of like really helps set in that feeling of, oh my god, they're really stranded, they're hopeless, they have no shot of getting out of here. And it was an incredibly emotional sequence. There's a lot of really incredibly emotional sequences. There's a lot of character deaths. Well, since this is based off a true story, there's a lot of real life deaths that happen in this, where you can tell that these people who are incredibly close to them are never going to really be able to get over the fact that they are dead. Whenever they're having the discussions about cannibalism and whether or not they should start eating the people who've died and stuff like that, it's incredibly emotional. And then when they kind of like set up the team of like, these 3 people are going to be the people who like cut off the meat and stuff like that, and like serve them to people without, you know, giving them any idea who it is, to kind of help them eat without it, you know, really traumatizing them and terrifying them. It's just incredibly emotional, and the way that they're able to kind of set up this new found society of these people have this set job and this mission, these people have this set job and this mission, and they each play an important key part in the society of the snow. And I think that it's incredibly emotional. I think that it does a good job showing how humanity can prevail in even the darkest of times. And it's really, really emotional. There's one last little like sequence that I want to talk about before I get into like the full ending of the movie. But there is one scene where an older gentleman who is on the plane loses his wife or whatever early on in the film. And he goes to talk to our main character, Numa, about how whenever she came out of the ice or whatever and she was dead, he hugged her incredibly tightly, as tight as he possibly could. And he said for the first time ever, he felt a certain power of like love that he's never felt before, and it felt like he was getting a giant hug back. And he talks about how in that moment he knew he was living for a reason. He still had a reason to keep going, and it was to go and share that love with his kids. And that entire sequence is incredibly emotional. That entire speech is incredibly emotional. And I absolutely loved this movie. This movie was phenomenal. And the last couple things I want to talk about is the final journey is insanely triumphant. They are climbing through the mountains, and it is snowing, and it is rough, and there are parts where they are going pretty much straight uphill. It's 3 men together, and they're sleeping in a sleeping bag that they makeshift made very last minute, and they are running out of food, they're running out of rations, and then they get to the top of the mountains, and Nando and Roberto, who are 2 of the main like strong people, get up to the top of the mountain, and they're looking out, and they can see how to get to Chile. It's just going to take 10 more days. And that moment where they are basically watching the sun rise over the mountains is very, very beautiful. And we finish out the film, and they get to civilization, and they get the helicopters, and they're able to take them to where the players are and save the rest of them. It's an incredibly emotional film. It is incredibly triumphant in the end. and I really, really enjoyed it. I think that the direction and everything of it was fantastic. So I'm gonna give this movie a solid 94 out of 100. I really, really loved it. I think it's my favorite Survivor film I've seen in a really long time, and it's incredibly emotional. And if you can, stomach watching movies like this and seeing really bad injuries and stuff like that, I would definitely recommend watching it. It was very, very good. But yeah, that was it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by and checking it out. I love and appreciate you guys so much watching. If you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will hopefully see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bow, bow, bow.
He wanted me to trouble first, I did this. We planned a day and then we did this. Wanna be in love with the girls with the kisses. Don't give a damn, I'll rid this. I like this when I run the distance. I run a 5K, you go ballistics. I wanna live within the business. Buy more than what's on the clearances. You're getting big cause I know you're a physicist. I wanna deny this shit, I'm unlimited.